Where's my fucking hand? What the fuck? What the fuck was this? What the actual fuck was this supposed to be? Were there no other takes they could have done? Was there no other way they could have done that scene? Was there no way they could have made this remake any better than they did? Fucking goddamn hell. It's a laugh a minute for all the wrong reasons. Witchboard is a remake of the 1987 classic, I guess you could say. It was full of 80s ooey gooey cheese and spawned 2 sequels that somehow weren't even up to the level of what was admittedly not a great movie but had some funny moments and had that 80s ooey gooey cheese layer about it. And Chuck Russell, who wrote and directed this, decided along with Greg McKay, who also wrote this, they said, hey, we're just going to remake Witchboard, a remake that nobody really was particularly asking for. We're going to stretch out the runtime for about 20 more minutes, and we're just going to throw a bunch of shit in the goddamn pot and make it up like burgoo and serve it to people, and then we're just going to try to go in a few different directions with a story that is so goddamn terrible, so goddamn baffling. I had to pause this movie multiple times because I could not contain my laughter. And again, it is for all the wrong reasons. If you thought a couple of the entries in the Final Destination franchise were just ridiculous with the effects and the CGI blood and stuff like that, well, as Bachman Turner Overdrive once said, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is an abomination against everything horror related. This is one of the worst horror movies that I've seen of this decade. This is one of the worst horror movies I've seen of this century so far. This is so fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. And I had such fun with it. But God damn it, this was an hour and 50 minutes of my life. And $7 out of my pocket because Amazon only had it. And I was like, all right, at least it's discounted. I actually got requests to review this when it was about $14 on Amazon. I said, I'll be damned. I'll wait till it's at least half price. And I should have been paid to watch this. This had to have sat on the shelf for a couple years. There is no way that this film was made semi-recently. It almost feels like something plucked out of 2005, which really wouldn't make a lot of sense given the age of some of the actors. And really outside of the unintentionally hilarious moments with just the stupid story and the terrible acting by a cast that was certainly trying, these had to have been outtakes that they left in. This movie is a farce. This movie is a farcical bullshit piece and just it's shitting all over horror. I mean, I cannot believe how bad this was. Do you not know what the story is? I'm just going to keep dumping on this on the off chance that anybody involved in this production happens to watch this, and I wish nothing but the best for the cast. But I'm sorry, if Chuck Russell thought that this was a good movie, unless it was studio interference, unless they basically said, we will cut you in two and mail half of you back to your family if you don't do this the way we want it, there is no excuse for any seasoned filmmaker, any person out of film school, any person in film school, anybody that popped out of the womb to have an alleged budget and name actors to an extent and make this. Chuck Russell did Nightmare on Elm Street 3. He also did the remake of The Blob. Okay, maybe not the best, but hey, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies at least were okay for the first 3. I mean, the first one was the best. And then Freddy came all over the goddamn franchise, and we really didn't get a revamp or a good revamp until, New Nightmare, and then we got the 2010 remake. The Mask, yes, the same Mask. He also did Eraser, and he did Bless the Child. Bless the Child looks like Shakespeare next to this. Bless the Child was terrible. And he also did The Scorpion King. And he's been involved in other projects, but those are the ones I wrote down. When the best movie you did is probably The Scorpion King. Oh boy. But yes, it's based on the screenplay by Kevin Tenney, whatever. Madison Iseman plays Emily, and Madison, by the way, was in Annabelle Comes Home, and she's very photogenic, I will say that much. She certainly looks the part and seems to be having fun playing the main girl that ends up finding this pendulum board with something that's a finger bone that you have to dangle over this to make it do what you want it to do. But of course, if you summon stuff with the board, if you try to do stuff with the board, a price is paid. Final Destination style. Bad Final Destination style. The Final Destination style. Thank you, Chuck Russell. You make me think that maybe The Final Destination wasn't so bad. At least it ended quicker than this. Hour and 50 goddamn minutes. So she's got a boyfriend named Christian. Christian, at last he is not on his own, played by Aaron Dominguez. And they're trying to open a restaurant. They're in New Orleans. I don't actually think that's how you say New Orleans. I'm sorry. With the Creole Lady Marmalade. And he's trying to open a restaurant. They're out picking mushrooms. And I'm skipping over a few things before I get into spoilers. Finds the board. Finds some adorable kitties. There is a really adorable long-haired kitty. God, that cat. If the producer could get along with other cats, after, so many years of being the only cat, I would bring a cat like that home. Huge cat, though. Long-haired cats are a lot of upkeep, though, so make sure you buy brushes and make sure you take care of them. I used to have a Persian, trust me. So there are other actresses in this, such as Mel Jarson, who played Natara in Mortal Kombat, who's, sweet Jesus, with respect. God, good Lord. There's Charlie Tahan, who plays Richie. And you have Naga Soth, who is played by Antonio Desplat, who is in The Killer's Game, and is one of the most incredibly gorgeous French women I have ever seen in my life. My God. There are plenty of beautiful women in this movie. There's a couple twin girls named, I believe, the Herbert sisters. Well, one, I forget the names. One, I think, is named Alana. There's a lot of women listed in the cast. I like the actress that played Sierra. She did fine. She at least had one funny moment in a restaurant scene later on. But this movie's a hodgepodge of stupidity, is the best way I can describe it. This movie is shockingly bad and inept on almost every level. It starts out okay. And then it just really tumbles into a goddamn pit. A pit full of spikes with, feces smeared on them and everything. It's just, good God. I try to be fair. I really try to be fair, but when a movie is this shockingly bad, yep, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to get into spoilers here in just a couple seconds. It's on Amazon if you want to rent it for a few bucks and laugh and hate yourself. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, we start off in the Lorraine province in France in 1693 with cats. Why were the cats being chased? What did the cats ever do? Antonia, again, sweet Jesus. What a beauty she is. She's named Naga Soth. No, really, that is, or Naga Soth, whatever. The Nagano Olympics, basically, are here. She moves slow enough to be a sloth, the way they filmed her here. But yeah, she's doing some Wiccan stuff, and then suddenly this one count that I'm going to call Count Gorgon, because it's just funnier. And they have a history. We find out that, oh shit, she had a mark on her face. I know it's makeup, still looked great. And that's it. So really just, witches are catching on fire. The French revolutionaries are attacking. And yeah, we just have random shit going on. And then suddenly we cut to present day with two thieves breaking into a New Orleans museum just to steal the board. But then one guy wants to steal this chalice, this gold chalice. He chose poorly, though, because that leads to a fight where they basically shoot each other for no reason. So one guy's bleeding out. And yeah, then we cut right to the swampy marshes. Kind of almost looks plantation-like the way this is. And they're picking mushrooms. Emily and Christian. And there's that beautiful long-haired kitty. I hope that kitty has a good home. I really hope that cat has a good home. If that cat does not have a good home, fuck it. I will pay the fee to fly that cat here. That cat's awesome. That cat deserves a good home. I actually don't think I could afford that, but hopefully somebody has adopted that cat. So, And after this thievery of the Witchboard, basically, we don't know what happened. The kitty leads her to the Witchboard. Emily, that is. And I have to say that Madison really is very attractive. She really is very attractive. I mean, it's like, good grief. Very commanding. Beautiful eyes. Beautiful eyes. But she ends up arriving at the board, sees the board, and doesn't see the body of one of the thieves that is just torn apart and stuff like that. And then we cut to blonde goth girls that almost are straight out of a Game of Thrones extra style. And then the Robert Booker, all hail Robert Booker, gets basically, taken down by Alexander John Baptiste. Jamie Campbell Bower, I wrote Boner. Big Boner, I barely know her. And he's the villain. And I got nothing against this guy personally, but the villain is so ass-wipingly evil from the very beginning. Nobody would be able to take him seriously. If you were to just bring his DoorDash order to him, assuming he knows how to do DoorDash, you'd probably think, well, this guy's going to tip, and then put the tip of a knife in my goddamn neck. So, suddenly, after Emily and Christian basically were having their issues, picking mushrooms, and Emily being separated with the cat and the craziness, they're having kind of a pseudo, taste test before the restaurant fully opens. They forgot to clean the chimney, which leads to Emily using the board after Brooke arrives. Brooke, by the way, is the ex of Christian. A toss-up between Mel and Madison. It would be very tough if a man were to have that choice. Any man that would be lucky enough to deal with that problem, good for him. Richie, by the way, is attracted to Brooke. Again, look at Mel. How couldn't you be? And she's very British. Very British. The hot type of British, not even overdone British. Like, good Lord. And she's into antiques. Emily wants her to study the board. Oh, and you gotta swing something over, something that matters to you. Oh, wait, there's something in this eye. It's the finger bone. And then, in trying to use the board, suddenly there's fire, and a flaming black crow shows up. I mean, I know the black crows had some hits, but I digress. And Brooke basically says, that's the thing with spirit boards. If you knock on the door, don't be shocked if something answers. Which is kind of a callback to the other one. Riley Russell plays a character named Jackie. Apparently it's her first role. She did fine in the few lines she was given, so hopefully she gets more roles. Jamal Asmar plays Zach, who's supposed to be very Cajun or Caribbean. I don't really know. I don't really care. Emily keeps messing with the board. She wants to find her engagement ring that Christian gave her, but they lost it during moving. But when you use a modern-day Witchboard, nailed it. There are very pretty kitties outside. I am not referring to the women. I am not being objective or sexist. I am referring to the fact that there are some pretty kitties outside, including that long-haired beauty. That just looks so regal and so evil. Cats are inherently evil, but that being said. So, in trying to find her ring, we get some shit going on in the kitchen, Final Destination style. So for something being given, something will be taken away. Richie ends up, having some issues with the burner and the canola oil or vegetable oil or possible clear motor, synthetic motor oil with how that shit looked. And tries to take that away. Some spills on the floor, but he doesn't fully slip on it. And then the meat slicer thing goes on. And he says, Richie, shut that off. Even though Christian is right by it and could shut it off, he's like, no, Richie, you come over here further because I'm your boss. And he does. He slips on the oil and his head stupidly falls off. It gets sliced off and flies into the camera. Just fucking terrible 3D effect style. Friday the 13th Part 3. That was the 3D one, right? I reviewed them all in short succession. I'm sorry. Where's my fucking hand? Is an actual... They left that in this. And then the cat, the long-haired, beautiful cat, is evil and takes the hand away. And Christian's looking for the hand. and then sees, like his, I guess the restaurant is just below where they're living. I guess it's a loft apartment thing, because I guess that's how New Orleans is done. But Emily's like, look, I found my ring. Wait, why is there blood on you? These are not how conversations would work in the real world. And he can't find the hand, and the hand is in the hands or paws or mouth, rather, of the cat that's eating it. And Richie, he dead. He bled out because nobody could stop the bleeding because he lost his fucking hand. So it's time for the funeral. Oh, yes, and Emily also is a recovering addict. She was in rehab. Her old pusher, Jessie, used to have her. So technically, she was Jessie's girl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And Emily wants the cat. And the cat just wants to stay there. The cat, by the way, vanishes for a majority of this movie after this. I guess the cat's agent was like, no, we demand more money. Or Meow Mix or something. Actually, make sure you give him the fancy stuff. Give him Fancy Feast. Then you can have like that derpy-looking Persian in that. It looks confused, unable to figure out how stuff goes on. So then a research scene. There's a 1996 crime that occurred with a sheet over a body, sheet, and the Wiccan board thing, whatever. And that comes back to play later. This is horrendous, is what I noted. Where's my fucking hand scene? I was laughing for 15 minutes, off and on. I could not stop laughing. It was so bad, I think I shot my voice, for God's sakes, but good Lord. This is so boring, is what I noted. But then, it basically, because Emily is worried because of the drug issues that she's had, and the fact she had to go to rehab and she has stuff on her record. She's worried about giving the board back because what's going to happen? Well, you could just give it to Christian. He could give the board back. We could avoid this. But no. By the way, there was a point where she was, after first using the board, she got pulled down into a bed and got to see, Soth or Naga Soth. Seeing Antonia in bed, never mind. God forbid if she's watching this. Jesus Christ. I sound like a crazy American, and I am, but I want to be respectful. So then there's a hilarious part where the shower water is burning her, and you thought the psycho shower scene was tough, and all of a sudden, she gets pulled down into the bathtub area. She gets pulled down into the bathtub, and pulled down to where she's seen Naga. And again, fuck, Antonia's hot. My God. Not that Madison's no slouch, but just Jesus. So anyway, we see Naga helping people. And then the Count Gorgon shows up. And I know what his name is. I'm just making fun of this. Because if this movie's not going to take itself seriously, then why should I? And basically, we got almost an implied assault scene. Like, yay. She basically got assaulted, beat up, hence the whip marks on her face. And a curse was placed on all their houses. And, yeah, the curses come down, all the seas are brown, and the sky is gray. And the sky is gray. That's actually not it. It's the leaves are brown, but whatever. Would have rather dived into a brown sea. This movie belongs in a sewage plant. I just want to say that. Oh, look. Brooke decides to take Christian to visit her friend that can help with the board, and it's Alexander. Oh. Wow, that's surprising. It's not, but they want to make it like it's surprising. And why is there a random sex party? Why is so much of this movie filled with... They could have made this 85 minutes. They could have made this a few minutes shorter than the other one. And not only would it have been better, it would have gotten over quicker, but it would have been slightly less incoherent than it is. But yeah, just a random old sex party and everything. It's so stupid and ridiculous. I mean, yes, people in weird masks doing stuff. I mean, I don't know. So, there's the two sisters. Actually, they're triplets. Whatever. And there's basically Alexander has Christian see a vision where he really wants to fuck Brooke still. you kind of can't blame him. Nothing against Madison, but I mean, it would be if the roles were reversed. The roles were reversed. That means he was getting pegged, but I digress. And the 1996 murder was with the same board. And where'd the cat go is what I noted, because the cat just disappeared. So, basically, this all goes back to, like, obviously the witch and all that. The word harlot is not used nearly enough, by the way. I do want to say that. And Emily keeps using the board because she's a fucking idiot. I did note that she's really hot. There's one point where she decides she's going to strip down. She's going to just, well, to basically nothing. And she is going to fuck the hell out of Christian, but she's possessed. Well, Jesse tries to give a girl drugs, but then the cat shows back up. Hooray, the real star of the movie's back. And that... the cat ends up basically jumping on him when he's trying to, like, inject some kind of heroin or whatever. Or some kind of crack or whatever the heck it is. Hey, Philip Seymour Hoffman style. And then basically he falls off the goddamn roof and falls onto his sword of a statue. It's literally there. Not a sword just randomly hanging up, or, standing up, but it wouldn't have made as much sense as anything else in this movie. Alexander then comes over to help Emily fill her vessel. It's not a lot less dirty in my head somehow. Let's just move on. So we get some flashbacks. And yes, it is Naga Soth's finger bone. It is her fingering the world. Never mind. This movie will not end. This thing is terrible. This is boring. What the fuck is going on? So the whole ritual seemingly is done. Whatever he did with hypnotizing and all that, everything's fine. Except Emily's acting weird. You know why? Because Naga Soth is brought into Emily's body and did the old switcheroo. And now she's back in 1693. That is not how this shit works. But whatever. There is no level playing. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. I noted that Sierra, the actress playing Sierra, is lovely. Madison in that black dress when she's supposed to be all evil. There's a food critic that is trying out the stuff at the restaurant. And, yeah, that's pretty much it right there until we just ramp things up with everybody acting weird on the Creole or Creole, or however the hell you say it, mushrooms and all that, and they're getting all hot and bothered, and they're acting like the people at this feast that had just shunned Naga. Naga, doesn't matter. You say tomato, I say this movie belongs under my boot, being squished into the fucking ground. Everyone is aggressively horny, but also aggressively murdery. The cat shows back up because the cat has to do something to propel this thing along. And, yeah, they serve the severed hand. Time to serve hand. And the stabbings just go off the rails. Merci. Whatever. The CGI blood is terrible. Alexander briefly saves Brooke, stabbing the food critic. And then Emily is not doing all that well because Emily is no longer Emily. Emily isn't here, Mrs. Torrance. Takes Emily with him, and now we're going to get one final showdown. By the way, we are about an hour and a half into this, and this thing, again, is an hour and 50 minutes long, and no horror movie that is this inept, this bombastically stupid, should be this long. So, Brooke takes Christian to the house, and then ends up actually basically revealing that she needs to learn this witchcraft stuff, and she basically brought Christian along, and all this is a ruse, a flim-flam, a bamboozle. And, yeah, to say that, Christian is fucked would be an understatement. It turns out the 1996 victim was the last of the Naga Soth's bloodline. Oh, wait, she had a kid, and the kid would be Emily's age. That's right, Emily is a direct descendant of this witch. Hence why they were able to switch bodies, because why not at this point? Why not? Why the fuck not? So, it's going to be ladies' choice. There are those beautiful twins. God, I think they're like... I don't know, they look like they could... I don't think they've been in too many movies, but They really do have like the presence for horror. They really do. So now it's a lady's choice. Is she going to choose Alexander or is she going to choose Christian? And yeah, he basically ends up kissing her and then is able to see what's going on as his girlfriend or fiance is about to be burned at the goddamn stake. But then he throws the board in the fucking goddamn, fire into the fire and burns it as you would in a fireplace. And these fire effects is what I noted. That really? Fucking really? Fire effects in the goddamn 70s look better. The fire effects in the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie look better. And they look like shit. So, all of a sudden, Emily gets back into her own body. Good little plot device there. And Soth ends up getting... Emperor, or, little Gorgon there, Counselor Gorgon, whatever the fuck he is, commiserating Gorgon. He ends up getting burned in the fire, and everybody burns. And Alexander then shot Christian about 3 times, but then he's able to somehow throw something with fire on it to Alexander. And his jacket starts to burn, but he takes that up, but then this place is starting to burn down. Despite the fact that most of it is made out of fucking stone, it's burning. And Christian ends up sending Emily away. Hey, I can't make it, even though, I'm shot. I probably could be saved, but now go ahead and leave me. And then, by the way, Alexander's alive. His eyes pop open just as they're zipping up the body bag. And that's it for the movie. Oh, wait, no. Brooke brought the board to the Catholic Church, gets a diamond payout with some of the fakest looking diamonds I have seen. Could you not have done better? And good luck, Cardinal, Conclave Chancellor, whatever. Just, God. Implying there's going to be a sequel to this bullshit. Yes, I know there was a second and a third, Witchboard movie. But take a look at the years. I think like the second one came out in like 89 or 90. And the other one came out in like 93. No, just the Witchboard is terrible. It makes the first one look tremendous. And that's still say I don't mind entertainment. I don't mind ridiculousness, but really? Fucking hell, Chuck Russell. Never do anything like this again. Never do anything again. Get residuals from your other projects and just never make another film again. F, by the way. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Redland. Until we watch a Witchboard bring a Wiccan witch back from the 16th, 17th century. Again, happy trails to you.